What's going on, you guys? Damocles here, and welcome back to the fourth episode of my Pokemon Unite Beginner Basics series, where I take people who have no knowledge of MOBAs and try to introduce you into some MOBA concepts in the context of Pokemon Unite, so you do not feel like you've been left behind. Today we are talking about defenders. These guys are your tanky, beefy frontliners, usually got a lot of CC, a lot of HP, so if you're into that, make sure you stay tuned, and like, comment, subscribe. It really mean a lot to me. I'm trying to grow this channel with Pokemon Unite, and every little bit helps, so join the community. Without further ado, let's just hop into it. So, defenders. Defenders are your tank Pokemon. These are your super beefy frontline characters. In the context of a team fight, you are going to be on the front lines, defending your carries in the back line, defending anybody in the back line, really, and you're going to be right in the thick of everything. If you aren't familiar with all the roles and everything else, you can go and check out some of the previous videos, but I'm just going to assume that you've watched them already. So your defenders, in terms of power spikes, in traditional MOBAs, the tanks usually start off with decently high base damage and obviously decently high HP pools, and then as the game progresses, they lose that damage profile. Their damage does not scale as exponentially as carries or anything like that would, but their armor values and their HP values do. So throughout the course of the game, a Snorlax or Slowbro might get tankier, whereas a carry is going to do more damage. They're opposites of each other, right? And so your goal throughout the course of a game is going to be trying to impose your will early on, not let carries bully you or anything like that, while you're defending your team's goals. And then later on, you are trying to be a front line for your carry so that they can go and deal as much damage to the enemy team as possible. And as far as roles and positioning in lanes is concerned, I think, we don't know how the meta is going to shake out, but you probably won't want to play a tank in the jungle straight off the jump just because the damage scaling isn't that great early on, and you want to have those fast clears like we talked about in the jungling video. So you're probably going to want to be paired up with a damage dealer either in the top or the bottom lane. So just something to keep in mind when you are picking this character, when you are working on roles in various team compositions. But aside from that, what else are you doing in the game? Right? I spoke a little bit about it in the carry video, but really you are there to be the front line for your team. And what that means is anytime you are in a team fight, you have your carries here, you have the enemy carries over here, and you want to be right in the middle. Okay, you want to make it so that their front line, their all-rounders, their assassins cannot go and absolutely delete your carry off the map. You want to protect them. And so what happens is I don't know if what happens is the correct term, but what that means is you need to make use of all of these various displacement abilities that you have. So tanks usually have a large amount of CC, and they have large HP pools. And in the context of Pokemon Unite, not only is this good for team fights and peeling for carries and stuff, but because Unite, the goals are very different from a traditional MOBA, so you are able to really impact the games. They might be the most important role in all of Pokemon Unite just because of how effective defenders are at defending goals. I mean, obviously the name implies that, but just as an example, right? Snorlax alone has a decent amount of AoE abilities, which are area of effect, meaning hits more than one single target. Okay, you have single target abilities, you have AoE abilities. Okay, and having these AoE abilities and having the HP pool that he has means that he's going to be able to go and in a team fight impact a large amount of people at once. He's going to be able to run interference for carries, stop people from getting to them. He's got stuff like block that physically stops people from getting by him to carries, which is an amazing ability, right? You're literally able to push people off, but then he's also got CC and stuff in the form of yawn or, in the form of heavy slam, where you can knock people up, knock people away, and sleep people. And all of these are there so that you can basically drag out fights. You can make it so these fights go according to your plans and not the enemy team's plans. It's all ways of protecting your carry. So, you know, if you're running a Cinderace and or if your teammate's running a Cinderace, and even if you're in lane, you're not in an actual team fight, you want to be the one that is spacing in front of your carry, right? You do not want to be 3 miles behind your carry because you're scared of dying. If you're thinking that, then this role isn't for you, right? You want to be in the front line because you have that safety. You are super, super tanky, as the word tank implies. So I'll definitely run some clips here showing that, but that's really like what is super, super important to note in your role as the defender. And it's easier said than done, because sometimes what you do is counterintuitive. Like if you see your teammate, your Cinderace, going and getting beat up down bottom lane, your gut instinct might be, I don't want to go and just walk into that team fight where it looks like we're losing, right? Like he's already almost dead. Like, do I really want to insert myself into the situation? Obviously it depends situation to situation, but the fact of the matter is that carry is that's down there. If you are able to block for him, then you can turn that fight around, right? Depending on how good your carry is, of course. But like, you are the one who's able to impact that lane, and you're able to protect those carries up until the point where they get big and are able to stomp games out themselves. Now, part of the game just comes down to experience, right? Like, you don't want to go and just push relentlessly into the enemy team if your team isn't in correct position, because then you're just fodder, you're just dead. But you always want to be on the front line. Now, that kind of just covers team fighting from a basic point of view. Obviously, you know, if you can push, you want to hold their front line off. You always want to be spaced properly. And I'll go into a whole team fighting video later on. But by spacing, I basically mean like if your carry is behind you, right, and the enemy team is trying to get to them, you want to constantly be repositioning so that the enemy team doesn't have like a straight line shot on your carry. And you'll see it in a couple of the clips that I show. And I show it from the carry perspective because that's what I play most of the time. But I can just tell you from the point of view of a carry player, you know, when you're playing with a tank or you're playing with a support, that's what you want to see from your tanks, right? You want to see that displacement. You want to see that they believe that you could turn these fights around. And so I'll go in a whole team fighting video later on about that. But the other really important thing that I think you need to keep in mind as far as Pokemon Unite specifically is concerned, and I don't think a lot of people understand this, but with a traditional MOBA, okay, let me make sure you can see this map. With a traditional MOBA, like your tanks are your frontliners, your tanks might go and just be off in a lane by themselves. They don't do a ton of damage, but they just kind of go and hit back and forth. The way that the towers work in a traditional MOBA is those towers actually go and attack you, right? You have to go, and your team has to go and rotate to take out a tower, and while those towers are trying to hit you, if you don't have minions nearby or something like that. So tanks would normally, like, maybe you'd tank a tower shot, or if you're defending, you're just trying to knock the opposing team up and clear a minion wave in time for the tower to be able to go, and like, you want to just survive long enough for the tower to be able to go and kill the enemies on the enemy team. With Pokemon Unite, you don't have towers that act in that way. You have goals, and that is the only way to progress in the game. That's the only way, guys. So like, it puts defenders in a really powerful position. And I don't watch a lot of other content creators or anything like that. But just from talking with my friends and stuff, I don't think people understand how important defenders really are and how powerful it is that, like, literally, like, you could go and it could if you have two solid defenders on your team that know what you're doing, you could prevent the enemy team from scoring any points at all. Like, any points at all. Like, that's how powerful they are. And what do I mean by that? Well, like I said, I'll just use Snorlax for an example, just because he is a, I don't know, he's your quintessential, like, beefy guy in Pokemon, right? You've got, like, Heavy Slam, and you've got Block, right? We'll just say that. Or maybe, should I say Slowbro instead? I don't know. No, we'll just go, you know what? Let's just go with Slowbro. Screw it. Let's mix it up a little bit, okay? So you've got a character like Slowbro, and I'm going to just not go over all of his abilities, but just for the sake of this example. So he's got something called Oblivious. That's his passive, where he gets basically the damage that he takes is somewhat temporary, okay? It goes down. He gets like gray health, but until it's all gone, he's able to like build that HP back up so that it's not really permanent sticking damage, right? Which means that he, in terms of being in the lane, he's very much of a nuisance. Like, he can go and sit on a tower, and it's going to be hard to pull him off that tower. But more importantly, he's going to be able to prevent whoever's in this lane from scoring any points at all. And I talked about dives in a previous video, but defenders are extraordinarily good at preventing dives from being successful, because they have massive HP pools, and the towers go or the goals increase your they heal you a little bit. They give you a little shield, and then you also have the berries behind to provide you with additional sustain. But the thing is, these defenders also have a lot of AoE and healing abilities that allow them to stay on that tower a lot longer than should be possible for any other role in the game aside from maybe support. And so if you go and say I'm running Cinderace, Snorlax. I keep bringing up Cinderace. Cinderace, Snorlax bottom lane. And my Cinderace goes to rotate to top lane so that they can score on the enemy team's first goal. And the enemy team says, all right, our bottom lane can go and score on the bottom goal, on my goal. But we have a Slowbro down there. He's going to be able to go, and he can literally sit on that point. Just sit on the point. Like, even though it sounds super boring, he could just sit on that point. And just by the nature of him being there, the fact that he keeps getting HP regen, he can heal off of his abilities, he has health that gradually comes back, and the damage doesn't necessarily stick. Plus, he has different forms of CC and AoE abilities like Surf, where he can go and he can shoot one Surf. It will hit multiple times, like with additional waves or something like that, so that the enemy team can't score. Even if he's not able to kill the enemy teammates, he's able to prevent them from doing anything, because he will survive longer than they will be able to dive him. And you see it all the time, especially early game. Because as the game goes on, right, carries are designed to go and deal bigger and bigger damage to your tanks and your frontliners so that they can get through to everybody else. But at the start of the game specifically, as a defender, do not be afraid. Obviously, XP and everything, you have to take that into account, but do not be afraid of sitting on a tower. Because you literally, like, at certain points of the game, you can just not die, and if you play it correctly, you can 100% turn it around into like a 1v2 situation where you kill two people that are trying to score on your goal, and you can prevent them from scoring any points at all. And that puts the enemy team so far behind, guys. Because remember, you get a huge chunk of XP for turning in those goals. And if you're able to prevent them from scoring in either of those lanes, that prevents them from opening up the jungle, which means it prevents them from getting easier ganks and rotating through the rest of the map. I can go a little bit more into map control in a different video. But the fact that a defender can like literally go and sit on this number one spot right here. He can sit there and prevent 2-3 people from scoring. It's just insanely powerful in the context of Pokemon Unite. Insanely powerful. Right? And now you obviously have to think about Zapdos and Rotom and stuff like that, like being able to, allow them for instant dunks and stuff. But I'm trying to drill into your head how important it is that like you have so much sustain, you have so much CC, and you have, for the most part, I think every single one of them has like forms of AoE abilities and stuff like that. Do not be afraid of hugging those towers when your teammates go to rotate, because it is more important that you make it so this, at the end of the game, this point shows a 0, meaning they score 0 points on you, than it is for you to go and run off and kill a Corphish to get like a little bit of XP. Now, obviously, depends on the situation, but again, basic level here. just play your role, right? Don't go and try and do anything silly. Your base damage, your damage is not that high, right? You're not a damage dealer. I mean, obviously there's certain exceptions, which I think will probably get nerfed, like Crustle, because like his what is it? His Shell Smash was pretty silly in the beta. But these are things you want to keep in mind. I hope this video didn't go on too long. I'll try and sprinkle in some gameplay so you guys can see it. Next should be supports, and then I can go into the real nitty-gritty stuff like laning, jungling, all that. I'm trying to pump out a lot more content now. Sorry, I had a bunch of stuff for my wedding this week. Let me know what you guys want to see. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm trying to respond to everything. I'm sorry if I missed some. And feel free to share these videos. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, guys. It really mean a lot to me. A lot of my people come from like looter shooters, so not too many people want to watch Pokemon Unite stuff, but I really love MOBAs, and I'm a long-time MOBA player, so I really want to put out content if you guys want to watch it. So let me know what you thought of this video. Let me know what kind of suggestions you have, and that's going to be it for me, guys. Damocles out.